Hello, I am Arthur Marshall, analyst at AHDB. Today is the 3rd of August 2016, and in today's video I'm going to be having a first look at the 2016 milling wheat outlook for the UK. This is going to be the first instalment of a wider theme of pieces we'll put up on the AHDB Cereals and Oilseeds Markets website. To begin with, on prices, we've seen milling premiums throughout July rise to slightly above average levels, but then in recent weeks they've settled down a little bit. As my colleague Brenda has shown in a recent piece on the website, there's still uncertainty about what the milling wheat outlook will look like, and premiums are still trading at around average levels currently. So in this first instalment of the outlook, we'll be having a look on the domestic side, and we'll be looking at the supply outlook, which hinges ultimately on area, yield and quality. As we know, this year's AHDB variety survey showed the largest Group 1 area ever recorded in that survey, so that's at least 2006, and also showed a rise year on year in Group 2s. So let's begin with Group 1s. As you can see on the map, the main regional increases have come in those areas you traditionally associate with milling wheat growing, eastern and southeastern regions of England in particular. So that means it's likely that these have indeed been grown as milling wheats and not just as a feed wheat, for example, with a chance of gaining quality. However, for the Group 2 varieties, the changes have been more spread across the country. So this suggests potentially a different story. Could it be that some of these have been grown as a high-yielding feed wheat, but with a potential bonus for quality? So moving on to the quality picture, it's too early to tell how it's going to shape up still. But what we can look at is scenarios and get a sense of the range of likely possibilities. So we've had a look at areas and historic pass rates to get a sense of what a different pass rate this year might mean for the milling wheat outlook. And given the Group 1 area, even an average pass rate, so that would be only 26% of Group 1 samples hitting the full bread wheat specification, would suggest a relatively good availability of that full spec bread wheat. However, for medium or lower specs of bread wheat, these still remain affected by the lower Group 2 area than maybe 5 or 10 years ago. So that means whilst at the higher end specs we don't need as high a pass rate as before to achieve a relatively high milling wheat availability. At the lower, medium or lower grades, it's a bit more of a mixed picture. If you're interested in more detail on these scenarios we built around this, look out for the full analysis in our Milling Wheat Outlook Part 1 Prospects article on our markets page next week. So summer to date has been relatively dull and wet, so looking at Met Office data for June and July, we have both seen relatively low levels of sunshine and relatively high levels of rainfall in England. But we know that August is a critical month too weather-wise, both for pass rates and for yields. So keep an eye out on our markets page for more to come on this as well, and in part 2, as harvest moves on and we know how weather is developing, we'll gain a better idea of quality and yields and how these are shaping up. So we can return to our scenarios and establish just how 2016-17 might compare.